Jamaica has recorded 74 new cases of COVID-19 and 3 additional deaths from the virus as at Sunday, May 9. This brings the total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country to 46,782 and the death toll to 809. Education Minister Favour Williams observed firsthand the resumption of face-to-face teaching, which resumed today.
It's good for the students to be able to interact with their teachers, to kind of, get their minds again geared towards these tests that are ahead of them.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, has confirmed that 2 illegal firearms were seized and 2 gunmen were shot and killed, while another has been taken into custody after an incident at the intersection of Hope Road and Trafalgar Road in St. Andrew earlier today.
They went in pursuit of these individuals, and with the help of the Jamaican cameras, they made contact with the men in the vicinity of Hope Road, where a shootout ensued. The men fired at the police, and during the process, a police service vehicle was damaged, and at the end of the shooting, 2 of the 3 men were found with gunshots.
And the St. James Municipal Corporation and Guardsman Limited have commenced a probe into the alleged beating of an elderly female vendor by a security officer employed to guardsmen at the Charles Gordon Market in Montego Bay on Friday night.
If you want me to support that start to beat me, she lick on me leg. And let me feel something that me have to take me pet scratch it so. Boom, boom, boom. I want if a human being in my lick, sir. Me cry, you know me heart and me can't lolly.
Good evening. Jamaica has recorded 74 new cases of COVID-19 and 3 additional deaths from the virus in the last 24 hours. According to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the latest fatalities are 3 females, a 72-year-old from St. Mary, as well as a 66-year-old and a 24-year-old from St. Catherine. This pushes the country's death toll to 809. Another death was also reported under investigation. Meanwhile, the new cases consist of 48 females and 26 males with ages ranging from 53 days to 87 years old. This brings the total number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the country since the outbreak to 46,782. The new cases were recorded as follows: Kingston and St. Andrew with 16, St. James 9, Westmoreland 9, St. Catherine 8, St. Elizabeth 8, St. Mary 6, Portland 5, Hanover 4, Clarendon 3, Manchester 3, and St. Thomas 3. No new cases were recorded in St. Anne and Trelawney. Meanwhile, a total of 127 people recovered from the virus in the past 24 hours, bringing the total number of recoveries to 22,395. There are 23,234 active cases of the virus on the island. Education Minister Favour Williams observed firsthand the resumption of face-to-face teaching, which resumed today. The minister visited Dunoon Technical High School this morning and said she was pleased with wash stations put in place by the school in observance of the COVID-19 protocols.
Being able to be back in the face-to-face mode, especially given the exams that are ahead of us in short order, it's good for the students to be able to interact with their teachers, to kind of, get their minds again geared towards these tests that are ahead of them. So it's good to be here in the physical world to assure them of their role and to just give them some encouragement as they go along towards these exams that are ahead of us. The figure I got was well over 500 schools that were open, and it's continuing during the week. Through the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we've done the physical inspections to make sure the signs are there, the wash stations are there, and so forth. So we know that teachers, principals on the ground, they're very well aware of this and they know the importance of it. And so I have no doubt that any school we visit, that they would be in compliance.
Minister Williams explained the importance of teachers being vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine.
During the Blitz, over 7,000 teachers were vaccinated, and the numbers that we got of the teachers that remain to be vaccinated was about 6,000 or so. But I don't have the actual number as to, based on the information that the Ministry of Health and Wellness would have been given to us, students in that age group, they generally don't show symptoms of COVID-19 when they have it. So it's very important for teachers to be vaccinated as they interact with our students in school. There is no directive just yet around the vaccination. It's voluntary right now. And so it's a question that has come up, and it's one that we would need to think about and be able to guide persons accordingly.
The Education Minister, in outlining the number of students sitting the PEP and CXC examinations, says that the students are very interested in their education.
Students have registered for these exams here in Jamaica. When we look at CSEC, it's well over 40,000 students that have registered to do it. You look at the PEP, same number, obviously. CAPE, maybe over 10,000 students and so on, and which tells me that the students are very interested in their future. And we need to do everything that we can to bolster them. And so that call for all teachers across the Caribbean to do what they can to ensure that students have a safe journey into exam, and that between now and then we kind of give them everything that we can. Probably would have heard the Chief Education Officer call for there to be psychosocial support in our schools. So when students come back, instead of just going headlong into the class, spend a few minutes just to talk through, have students talk about their emotions, what it felt like to be away from school, how do they feel, come back, what are some of the issues that they've had to deal with. But I know that across our schools, that is something that we have to take on frontally, because the COVID-19 has had a mental impact on many of our students.
Minister Williams also explained that students sitting this year's CXC exams can defer their exams to next year if they feel that they are not ready.
The CXC, which is the exam body, has allowed students to defer if they do not feel ready. So they can defer until January or June of next year. And in fact, they have an option as well to take some of the subjects this year, and they can take some next year, January or in June. So it's not saying it's all or nothing. If you don't do it this time, you miss it. For the first time, they're allowing students, and there's no extra cost to deferring, because they recognize the impact of the COVID-19 exam and that there are students who would not be ready. So that option is there. Additionally, you probably would have noticed as well that CSEC, for those who are registered to take the exam, they would have published the broad subject areas last Friday for paper 2, so that students could look at the list and kind of narrow down their study into those areas. So those are some of the actions that have been taken, in addition to delaying sending in the school-based assessment. We were able to petition and got even more time and so on. So those are some of the things that we were able to get done to allow students a little bit more freedom, a little bit more time in order to do well on these exams. We will be looking at summer school. The mode has not been fully agreed yet, but we have to do all that we can to recover from what we've lost during the pandemic, and you will hear more in terms of the details of it, but we have to.
Students at the Dunoon Technical High School shared with us their views on the difference between the face-to-face classes versus the online classes.
For me, it's better than the online class because I learn more and I get to understand more with the face-to-face. Mostly internet issues because sometimes the internet not so good. But well, they give us study guidelines, so we just work with it and study on our own time.
And online class, the teachers also prompt us to do our best, and they show up on time, they execute, and we do learn if we choose to learn. And at school, we just have them on our back like every day. So I think physical class is better than online class. A lot of distractions. They show up on class late because when you're home, you're kind of lazy in the bed, and it's kind of difficult. Yeah, it is. We have finished about, let's say, 78% of the syllabus at the moment, but we are getting there.
Approximately 40 students turned out at school this morning for English and entrepreneurship classes. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Matthew Samuda, says only 10% of the prison population have received the COVID-19 vaccine, and that those that are vulnerable in the population had the vaccine made available to them.
We've had two inmates, I believe, pass, and 3 correctional officers. COVID is real. We want to get to 70% of our population, similarly to other outside groups. But we're focused now on the vulnerable within our facilities. So certainly you're bedridden, you're aged, those with comorbidities. But you know, we haven't gotten the sort of numbers and uptake that we would like, because the vaccine hesitancy is even more increased in our correctional facilities. So it's something we're going to have to overcome. I don't have exact numbers now, but I would guesstimate it's in the range of about 300, which is about 10% of our population, which is not where we want to be. Not happy with it, but we have to ensure first, the first target is to ensure that the public knows that those who are vulnerable had it made available to them. We can't force anyone to take it, but we made it available. We will not resile from our responsibility of doing everything possible to keep COVID out, but we have made it available, and we continue to do our best and monitor the protocols to ensure that risk is mitigated.
The minister further explained that with reduced visitation, they are ensuring that their responsibility of duty of care are taken care of.
There has been no visitation for just over a year, which is a major issue to the psychosocial stability of our institutions and to the individuals who are inmates, and it's something that weighs on me heavily. We can't allow people to visit. The fact is, if we could keep no one going and coming, we would, because we know that the virus doesn't magically appear in the air, right? It has to be brought in by a vector, and the human beings that interact in the space are indeed the vector. One will recall that even last year there was a period of time where court proceedings were suspended. We've had to put in all sorts of measures, including limiting interaction for those who go to courts, right? We've had to ensure that all of our facilities have adequate isolation space. So when persons go to court, they have to spend 14 days in quarantine. That in and of itself, in a space like a prison where we have limited space, is indeed a challenge, right? And that has made us have to use the churches in the space, because each of them have places of worship. We've had to use classrooms where we didn't want to because of isolation, but we've had to do what we believe is our critical responsibility, which is to ensure that those who have a duty of care are indeed taken care of.
Mr. Samuda also pointed out that one reason the spread of COVID-19 in the prison system is kept at a low number is due to a digital system put in place for court hearings.
At Horizon, we've put in place a digital courtroom. So one of the ways that we've kept spread so low is because all of the mention dates for those who are indeed remanded at Horizon are actually done digitally now, which is a big step in the right direction for us. Now, full cases aren't being tried like that, but we want to get to that point. And Minister Chuck has spoken about the modernization over and over of the court system, and we're getting there, right? But the Horizon project is one that I'm particularly proud of, because even without COVID, it was something that we needed to do, right? For efficiency, for security, and for a number of other reasons, right? But it is one of, I think, the success stories. Now, we have made Zoom and telephone lines available to our prisoners. We've even made digital counseling available to our inmates, right? But we have to be clear. These things go against the cultural norms of how correctional institutions work globally. So the take-up is a different matter. We've made it available, but the take-up is not where we need to be.
In other news, the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF has confirmed that 2 illegal firearms were seized and 2 gunmen were shot and killed, while another has been taken into custody after an incident that took place at the intersection of Hope Road and Trafalgar Road in St. Andrew earlier today. The 3 men were reportedly traveling in a white Toyota Axio motor car that is suspected to have been involved in the shooting death of a man in Swallowfield, St. Andrew earlier today. The murder of the man was reported to the Police Emergency Communications Center, which reportedly then used the Jamaica Eye technology to swiftly mobilize members of the Metropolitan Quick Response Team. The motor vehicle was intercepted at the intersection, and while the police sought to apprehend them, the suspects engaged the police team in a firefight. The JCF said that investigations into today's incident are in their early phases and more information will be shared with the public at an appropriate time.
They went in pursuit of these individuals, and with the help of the Jamaica Eye cameras, they made contact with the men in the vicinity of Hope Road, where a shootout ensued. The men fired at the police, and during the process, a police service vehicle was damaged, and at the end of the shooting, 2 of the 3 men were found with gunshots.
29-year-old Nikisha Keeling, commonly called Gally, was hacked to death allegedly by her jealous common-law husband, a 62-year-old man in Clarkstown, Trelawney. Reports are that yesterday, about 1:30 a.m., the 62-year-old alleged machete wielder was held after he turned up at the Clarkstown police station. The police reported that between the hours of 11:30 p.m. on Saturday night into 1:30 a.m. on Sunday, the accused man and his younger spouse were at home when an argument developed between them over her allegedly cheating on him. The dispute escalated into a physical altercation, and the elderly man allegedly used a machete to chop his baby mother to death. About 2 hours later, he turned up at the Clarkstown police station, handed over himself, and confessed to killing the young woman. He reportedly told the police that she was constantly cheating on him and also texting men on her cell phone. The accused also brought the officers back to his 1-apartment concrete dwelling and showed them his baby mother's body, which was discovered partially naked with multiple chop wounds. The deceased, who has an 8-year-old son for the accused, is said to have been in a relationship with him since she was a teenager. Like other enraged members of the community, the distressed mother, Annette Keeling, 57 years old, believes her daughter's killing stemmed from jealousy on the part of her daughter's spouse. Christopher Jack, a brother of the deceased, said he strongly objected to the relationship between his sister and the older man since it began when she was a Mushat High School student. The police are also carrying out investigations into allegations made against the accused man that he had allegedly served time in prison for allegedly killing another one of his girlfriend in the parish of Westmoreland several years ago. A hotel worker was shot dead during a fight stemming from a heated dispute between himself and a friend in Trelawney yesterday evening. The deceased has been identified as 27-year-old Kimani Forbes of Waitabit, Trelawney. Reports are that at about 6 p.m. Forbes visited his friend, who is a licensed firearm holder, when an argument developed between the two. Forbes reportedly hit his friend and was shot dead. The police have since taken the licensed firearm holder, who is a businessman, and another man into custody for questioning. The Black River Police arrested 1 man in connection with the seizure of a handgun during an operation in Williamsfield District, St. Elizabeth, in the wee hours this morning. Reports are that at about 2:45 a.m., the police team searched the premises and found the firearm, a Taurus 9mm pistol fitted with a magazine containing 11 9mm cartridges under a pillow. The police said that the identity of the man who was taken into custody is being withheld at this time as investigations continue. The St. James Municipal Corporation and Guardsmen Limited have commenced a probe into the alleged beating of an elderly female vendor by a security officer employed to guardsmen at the Charles Garden Market in Montego Bay on Friday night. The vendor, who gave her name as Pauline Higgins of Duckett's Road in Cambridge, St. James, told Mello News that the incident occurred on Friday night while she was in the process of packing away her goods. Please note, the image may be disturbing to some viewers, so viewer discretion is advised.
Last night I was ready to go out of the market, but I have a cat and I always keep on. When I go for the cat, somebody take with the cat. So the security girl come in same time as she must go to the market. He said, I have no cat to carry out my things, because my things back up and go on road. He said, I must come out and I can go and come back and see. So I never get no cat to take, and I beg the market man when they work, never get cat, they say, don't get no cat. So I come back now and start go for one board and smoking ganja first, and say, I'm smoking ganja first, and then if you want me to board and start to lick me, she lick on my leg. And then I feel so when they lick me, I have to take my bench scratches up. And then I have to go to the market.
Do you know the name of the security company?
No, I never know his name. I know him on the archive, and who is man like. But that's why in the road to the market. Everybody in here see me and I'm the one he had for. I mean, I do nothing. Be a pure human under.
Vendors expressed their disgust at the alleged attack on Miss Higgins.
We cannot take the problem we are going for the old little lady in your hustling little money. And I come beat him up and call for. You understand? And then the wickedness so we can't survive in the market. You understand? And they charge us about $8 money and we have to pay if we don't pay. They say police about take put power. All of them are heading there. Around, it's the ultimate problem. No problem is just in the market. We have mother sleeping on the market. You understand? Then their wickedness.
It's a mother home. Why is this has happened? Why? Rain is falling, she in the market. Why you have to beat him in the market? Why?
Whenever they charge him, he don't get no trouble in here. But he have a foot problem and he's too fat, he can't move fast. So, he sit down there in that chair. He sit down there in that chair and then can't see him. Me don't hear him, me don't see. Come here, hide from them too. So, and then they say to him, say if he left out and he send away for one card to leave. And all what the man they do, they say if he come out now, he can go out and come back and come see him. Why don't do him? And he send away for the card. He so move. And he come back in me and talk cuss wipe a bad one and angle the woman and tell me yeah, they lick them bung, bung, bung. Me want if a human being in my lick, sir. Me cry, you know, me heart and me can't hit dolly. Because to me have to hide. He wicked man. And he partner said to him, say he can't do it. He can't do that because I told him I work together. So if he said not do that, if he hear. That man if he leave the market, man, he too wicked. And then if he sue him.
Miss Higgins was taken to a medical facility in Montego Bay on Saturday morning, where she was treated, and was also taken to the Freeport police station by relatives, where a report was made to the police. And we visited the Charles Garden Market earlier today, and some vendors described Miss Higgins as the mother of the market and the action of the security guard as crude.
I just want to know if it is right for the gentleman coming at the market can come and beat the woman. If I that the working come for do. Because when we there here and whatsoever we leave going home, I tell we are a figure. And when him sell we get money. So I not see no right. She's the mother of the market. Ask anybody if I know she is the mother of the market. So we not see no right. We no man come in here come beat off the woman. And until now, nobody from upper office no come down here and say nothing towards it. That means that they agree with it.
After talk, we come from so far. Some from Manchester, some from Chilani, some from St. Elizabeth. When we come at the market, we get here from, we left we yard even from 12 o'clock in the night. When we come, we can't come in, then lock we out. We can't stay now, we don't know where to go. Some of the women, them don't know where to go. If they even stay now, then beat we out of the market. What's wrong? Some people out the road, them can't sell, then charge, they want charge, then overcharge, then kick out, we don't know water in our pipe wash, right? We still crowded, because they know if we can't come in, come take off load for sell, they don't go want the money alone.
Well, that is a lady when I sell things all the while. And when me come,
And here what happened to Dolly. If you're me frightened, not even Duffy show me now watch again for Duffy show never make me frightened so yet. But my girl called me all type of name, you know, but woman mouth of them weapon. And I would never hurt a straw in a year upon her. What me I tell that man say he must have a mother or a sister, or if you have a daughter, he must have a stepdaughter then or a girlfriend. You couldn't deal with a woman that type of way, man. Do unto others the same you do unto your own self.
And following the incident, Guardsmen Limited and the St. James Municipal Corporation reported that they have launched a full investigation into the alleged case of assault carried out on the female vendor. Meanwhile, Mayor of Montego Bay and Chairman of the St. James Municipal Corporation, Councillor Leroy Williams, said once the investigation is completed and if the allegations are found to be true, the necessary actions will be taken by the corporation and the public will be informed. Mayor Williams said any act of violence, especially against women, must be condemned in the strongest manner, and the St. James Municipal Corporation will be leaving no stone unturned in getting full details of the alleged incident. And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with other stories, with the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited, JPS, reporting that it commissioned the first public electric vehicle charging station in Jamaica, as well as news that Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett has called on leaders in the Caribbean and in other parts of the developing world to come together and speak with a unified voice about vaccine inequality. But first, let's take a break and then join Christopher Scott with sports.